about the 90s?
What do we miss about the 90s? Well, I feel like the 90s was a little bit more simple. And it was, sure we were kind of interested in ourselves as individuals, but I felt that there was, you know, we were interested in a little bit more back then. And just how oblivious to how weird we were too. You know, in the 90s, we did things that we look back on and think, wow, that was bizarre. And this might be for every generation to come too, but as far as I'm concerned, I can look back in the 90s and go, we did a lot of weird things. Like, we dressed very strangely. We had strange haircuts that we probably wouldn't even consider today. So, they could, absolutely. But I think that's a wonderful thing too, you know? How we weren't afraid to try those things and we blindly rushed into those things a little bit. And we can still look back on it and be okay with it. So I think that's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something I'd agree with. I mean, I think the 90s, it just, for me, I feel like right now with social media is such a wonderful thing because we're able to, you know, get the information really quickly. We're able to express ourselves. We're able to open those conversations, but I also feel like that immediate sense of judgment, feeling judged, and judging is more prevalent today. And I feel like there was an element of that in the 90s where I didn't feel that as much. I would say I had a little less gray in my beard, a little thicker hair, so I'd bring all that stuff back.
I would say I feel like things were a bit more tactile. Like you could really put your hands on things, like on CDs and on music, and you know, we had vinyls before that, and tapes, and then CDs. And now everything is very much online. I don't think that it's something that I miss, because it just is the way that the world is going. And that's okay. But yeah, things were simpler.
Really
But when you're younger, things are simpler too. Things are complicated in their own ways, but things are different.
And the other thing was that in the 90s, we didn't all have outlets to be ourselves completely. So now everyone can go online and expose themselves and be this and be that. But in the 90s, you just sat in your house and you had no outlet for that. So I think that was a healthy place to be also, where we actually had to live with ourselves as opposed to throwing ourselves out there right away. And that, you know, I think that the world benefits from people kind of living with themselves a little bit also.
Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Mika from DJ from Revista Radio. So, throughout the years, have you thought of changing your music style? Since the 90s up to the millennium, it seems like a big jump in the music industry.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of different stuff musically since we broke up, you know. And it really wasn't a breakup; it was more of like a break that turned into a long break. You know, because there was no definitive like this is over. It just we kind of got into different things, and our life took us in different directions. But we've always made music. I mean, maybe not Dave as much, because Dave became a yoga instructor and he's pursued that for a while. But you know, Scott's been doing a solo record, you know, solo recordings, and also producing other people. Bob and I have been writing songs continuously the whole time and kind of working on our craft, trying to figure out where we were going with it. But I think that with the Moffatts, this new thing, you know, there's hints of what we used to do intentionally, because you know, we miss, I think one of the things in the 90s that we do miss is just the overall simplicity of certain elements of music that were very melodic. There was a very melodic sensibility that happened in the 90s and before. And I think modern music, there's a lot of wonderful things about it, you know, more rhythmically. You know, they've really taken on a lot of rhythmic things that are interesting, but as far as the melody goes, they sort of removed a lot of the melodic sensibilities that we used to have, and I think that people are craving that. I think people miss it. I don't think they ever said we don't want it anymore. I just think that certain things got hot and certain things got popular, and then it got forgotten a little bit. But I think people in general, they hear a song that has a nice melody, they love it. And we kind of find just reading comments on like our new single "So in Love," for instance, on YouTube, that has been brought up on hundreds and hundreds of occasions where people are stating, "Wow, I wish there was more music like this," and it was just an honest thing for us to want to do. It was nothing more than us just wanting to write something that made us feel something that we felt back in the day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Keith Cruz. So, since you're all back together making music and creating album, how has the creative process changed with all of you guys?
Well, it's kind of unfortunate for me, at least, that I didn't write any of the songs with the four of us on this record, which is kind of sad. These guys wrote 2 songs together. And that would be wonderful if that could happen. And that's one thing that has changed, is that we actually haven't sat down, the 4 of us, and written a song like we used to. And hopefully we can make time to do that eventually. Really, that's the only thing that I know. I mean, making music is constant evolution. You're finding ways of communicating and telling your story, and just finding interesting ways of making it fun and better. So it's just constantly changing. Nothing has stayed the same, to be totally honest. And that's maybe a double-edged sword, because maybe it would have been nice to keep, as you evolve, you forget things every once in a while. And the simplicity that I used to write with, and a lot of us used to write with, we were just talking about that, the simplicity of how we used to write is something that has evolved, and it's more complex now. So going back to that would be a wonderful thing, and trying to bring in those elements of simplicity.